What's going on, guys? As the title of the video states, today I want to talk about connected franchise in NHL 27. Obviously, yesterday the first reveal trailer for NHL 27 dropped, and I think everyone was really excited about this mode. And then as we learned more about it, the excitement definitely dropped a little bit. There's a lot of things we expected to be in the mode that unfortunately are not going to be in the mode. So in this video, I just want to talk about everything we currently know about the mode, what's in it, what's not, what we can do to make that mode better in the meantime, as well as what EA can do to make the mode better in the future. So I think the first thing, guys, I'll talk about is in this little connected franchise blurb. I remember actually reading this in my features video yesterday. One thing I completely glossed over, I'll be honest, is the fact that it says here, compete head-to-head across a full online season with up to 32 human-controlled teams. So a lot of people actually noticed it said online season singular opposed to online seasons plural, which honestly was a really good catch. So it had a bunch of people asking, like, is this mode only going to be one season? So he starts up by saying, want to clear up one misconception. NHL 27 connected franchise is not limited to one season. So after reading that, you're probably thinking, okay, it's multiple seasons, we're good to go. Unfortunately, if you keep on reading, there's some pretty bad news to follow. You can continue the same league, and roster moves like trades and free agent claims will carry forward. But, and this is a huge but, for this year, aspects like player aging, retirement, and season stats do not carry over. So basically what that means is you can play the connected franchise mode for more than 1 year, but you're kind of just like redoing 26-27 multiple times, right? Like if every single season McKenna's 18 and Ovechkin's 42 or whatever Ovechkin is now, I honestly forget. It's not really like you're progressing, right? And speaking of progressing, I don't really think there's going to be player progression or player regression in this mode if players aren't aging. Like the way McKenna progresses is he has a really good season. Let's say his rookie season, he puts up 70 points. He goes from being 18 to 19. His overall grows in rating. If McKenna's staying at 18 and the stats don't carry over, so the game, no longer realizes he had a 70-point rookie season and we're just kind of restarting, even if he's on a new team, like say he gets traded, I feel like he's still going to be 82 overall or whatever they start him at. So that is honestly sucks. Like that's a huge negative to have, towards this mode. I think it's something you'd probably expect in a mode like this. Obviously, there's some good news to follow. He hit us with that good, bad, good sandwich here in the tweet. He follows it up by saying, we know these features matter, and there's a feedback portal we can let us know what we need to prioritize and build on in the future. So obviously, they probably know what features are missing. They're the ones Clappy mentions here in his tweet. I think, they need to add these into the mode sooner rather than later in terms of just kind of, making everybody happy, I guess. I do understand it being the first year of the game mode, which is why I'm willing to give it, some leeway. Definitely disappointing, but if they can get, some of these features in this first year, just with an update during the year, and then, the rest of those features next year in NHL 28, I don't think anyone can hate too much, especially considering the fact we've already been waiting 12 years or whatever it is since NHL 14. Waiting another year and a half for the full mode to be in, but we still get a little bit of it this year. I'm not going to, be too upset about, but if it takes 3, 4, 5, 6 years to get the rest of this stuff in the mode, at that point, I think we have the right to be upset. And speaking of that, guys, I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying how EA purposely released, a bare bones version of this mode. That way they can just get rid of it in a year or two, which doesn't make a ton of sense from a business perspective or a marketing perspective or really anything. And luckily, the actual EA Sports NHL account put out a tweet saying, connected franchise is not a one and done feature for us, which is kind of what we all would have expected. Like, there's no way they were trying to, purposely sync their own brand new mode. I think, like I said, they just wanted to get this to us as quickly as possible, so they probably knew, it's not a fully finished mode yet, but they have plans to update it over the course of this year, next year, and so on, but they figured it's already been such a long wait. Let's get it to them as soon as it's, in a working state, even if there are some features missing, which I do understand. I can also understand people who would have rather just waited for the full finished product. And honestly, guys, I don't mind them going that route if the second part of this tweet is true, which is them saying how they've opened up an NHL feedback portal. They want to know, what matters most to us about connected franchise. Obviously, I feel like a lot of this stuff is obvious. We care about, having a draft, players aging, player progression, anything to do with a real life franchise mode. But I'm sure kind of as the mode gets to that point where it is like franchise, they might be wondering, what should we add next? Where I think, we could say we don't care about owner mode. Me and my friends don't need to compete over who's got the best tasting, cheapest hot dog. But maybe something you could add is a three-way trade in connected franchise. Like imagine they can do that earlier in that mode than a regular franchise because it all being human players, it's somehow easier. Again, I'm just spitballing, but I feel like, them saying that they're willing to just kind of add to this mode based on our feedback over time, hopefully, fingers crossed, is a really good thing. And now the next thing I want to talk about, guys, is the fact that there's no AI teams in NHL 27 connected franchise. During the trailer, if you pause it on this screen as they're creating a new league, you can read here, it says, teams without a human user cannot be controlled, traded with, or played against. So this obviously upset a lot of people. I put out a tweet saying how I didn't mind this. I actually prefer human-controlled teams. A lot of people gave me a lot of feedback on my tweet, and I have to agree, I was being a little bit short-sighted. I was thinking about myself where I could pretty easily fill a league with a bunch of humans, but if, you only have 1 or 2 friends, it's a lot tougher to do. So I do think this should just be a setting like when you play franchise mode. I like injuries off, I turn injuries off. If somebody likes injuries on, they turn it on. I think having the same thing for like an AI team interaction, that can be turned on so you can trade against them, play against them, or turned off so that can't happen and they're just kind of, in the background, would be a good feature. So if you started a connected franchise with just you and a friend, you can only play and trade with each other. The CPU teams are essentially placeholder teams, like they'll simulate against each other. You'd also simulate against them. I think you'd probably only simulate against them in the playoffs though, as the way we've seen it set up. You guys can see the screenshots there. You basically are always just playing like, other human controlled teams. Now, those leagues might just be only human teams, so maybe you do get some sim games against CPUs. I'm not entirely sure. I also don't know like if the CPUs can trade with each other, not trade with you. I feel like we'll probably just have to wait till we get hands-on. But speaking of, playing with just you and a friend, I have some more bad news about that. As you guys can see here, you actually have to have a minimum of 3 human-controlled teams to start up a connected franchise. We got this news yesterday on Twitter from Clappy. Shout out to Crash Andrews for asking the question. Clappy said you can have between 3 and 32 players. So this is good news if for some reason you thought you needed 32 humans. I saw that going around a little bit. I don't know why anyone would think that. Like, that's obviously so wrong, especially with the fact that we have custom leagues, again, shown in the trailer. I believe the minimum teams you need is 6. Like I said, you could have like an original 6 league, or you could go up to 32 like the regular NHL. Having said that, it does still suck if, just wanted to play you and a buddy, one in the East, one in the West. You're playing against the CPU, trading with them, seeing if you can, meet each other in the Stanley Cup final. Unfortunately, you'll have to find a third friend. I do, hope that this could be lowered from 3 to 2. I don't really see, it was just a number, literally, right? Like, how that could be game-breaking. I could be wrong on that. But, again, with that feedback portal, if you guys want to have them, turn that number down to 2, let them know. And now, speaking of the original 6 league we saw, guys, just like in franchise mode, you can set up your connected franchise as a custom league with, 6 to 32 teams. You can choose the amount of games played, how many teams make the playoffs, all that stuff. We saw it in the trailer. I don't know, some people must have missed it or something, because I saw people saying like, oh, do I gotta play 82 games? Again, I don't know where some people are getting their information. As you can see here, this league set it up where it's a 15-game season, 6 guys, so they played every single person 3 times. Obviously, you have options. We have another league here. It's a 10-team league. You only play everybody once, so it's a 9-game season. They just started it. You can see the 6 teams that are to be played. I assume the 3 teams below are just not rendering because they're lower. There you can see just, a shortened season. You definitely have a ton of options to you. If you want to have the full, 84 games, I should be saying, you do have that option as well. Now, I saw a lot of other people asking, guys, like, what's going to happen if, say, I do have, 10 friends, I get into a league like this, 10 human-controlled teams, what happens to the players in the other 22 teams that are not in this league? Well, just like in regular franchise, they would not be in the connected franchise. Now, to fix that, all you have to do is put them in free agency in a custom roster. In this little blurb here, EA mentioned the flexible league settings we've already touched on, as well as roster management. So again, you can actually, use that custom roster, move players where you want them, as well too. Like I saw some people saying, say you do get a 32 team, human league somehow. Who's going to take, Calgary, for example? Well, you could make a custom roster, put Wayne Gretzky on the Calgary Flames just to make it a little bit more fair. So I do think that's a huge thing that you have, like, that flexible roster management there. I believe that also means if you do input a custom roster, you could literally have created teams and connected franchise, which is honestly kind of sick. That's something we did not have in NHL 14. I know everyone, looks back on that with rose-colored glasses. I do think it was a good mode, but it definitely, had some issues. Biggest one probably being the sim speed, which looks to be a lot faster this year. A bigger reason for that might be the fact that it is obviously a lesser mode. There's less, things going on, but I do still think that's a huge plus. Also too, as we already mentioned, scheduling, how many games you played, and the commissioner tools as well, I think is a huge thing. I didn't talk on that too much. In the trailer, we saw a trade go through and it said pending commissioner approvals. And I think having those flexible commissioner tools is honestly a huge thing, whether it be, an inactive team, you can just boot the guy, or say there's somebody that's just dodging their opponent, they refuse to play them, you can just give, all the wins to the guy that's always ready to play. or if there's just something, shady going on. You can just go and change a score, change whatever. And while we're on the screen here, guys, some things I wanted to point out. I saw a lot of people talking about, Crosby's contract not being 8.7. Also, Orlov's contract's way up. I think the reason for this is probably the fact that the roster they used was like mid, free agency, where San Jose was way below the salary cap minimum. Pittsburgh was also a little bit below. You can see actually in game. The Sharks have a ton of cap space there. Pittsburgh also has a little bit. Pretty sure that's the reason for the contracts. Also, too, Colin Graf and Kesselring are right-handed. It's showing them as lefties. Gonna guess that's just a bug. Usually the handedness in these games is good. Don't really know what happened there. Now you can also see the ratings, guys, on this page. I'm just gonna guess they're not final, although like they look pretty close. Crosby 95, Orlov 87 seems a little bit high. The two main things I want to talk about is the fact that on this page you don't see any potential. If you look at a regular trade screen on NHL 26, obviously in franchise mode, you'll see both potential and years left on the contract. We don't see either of this in this connected franchise trade screen. So unless both those things are hidden, that really shows how you're just kind of replaying every single year, as without potential, you're not going to have any, growth during the year. Also, too, like you're not going to have any reason to have multi-year contracts if it's just kind of the same contract every single time. So again, that's just another thing that's disappointing to see. Again, it could just not be on the trade screen. The one good thing, though, I will say, especially for, like, trying to make trades with a bunch of humans, things like that, is the fact that the Sharks here were actually able to trade for Sidney Crosby. If you guys didn't know, Crosby has a full no-move clause. In franchise mode, you could not trade for Sidney Crosby right now. In connected franchise, you can trade for Sidney Crosby, and that must be because they removed all the clauses. That way, you are able to make a lot more trades between you and your friends. And speaking of no multi-year contracts and things like that, guys, when you look at the current free agent screen, NHL 26, you get potential, teams interested, organization interest, salary expected, years wanted, overall, and age. But when you look at it in connected franchise, all you get is overall and minimum bid, not even salary expected. So this is what really, I think, kind of shows you where this mode is headed. It doesn't have like an expected salary for Alex Ovechkin. It's telling you the minimum bid you need to make is $9.5 million. Then here, when you see they're making an offer on Giroux, it says bid amount $2 million. Has the option to drop players from your team, confirm and submit claim, not submit offer, and then you can also cancel claim. So the fact that they're calling these claims opposed to like free agent offers or free agent signings, I think shows you like this is a completely different mode than GM Connected. That's why it's called Connected Franchise. And this menu screen here has the same sort of thing. Like you can see John Carlson was one with a bid amount of 8.1. Claude Giroux has a bid amount on him, same with Brent Burns. And below that you can see here it says league notice. The regular season has started. Below are the free agent claim rules for this league, which doesn't really read like a franchise mode. It reads more of like a fantasy hockey league you'd be in. Same with the middle here too. It says like player add, players dropped, opposed to players signed, players released. Like, I think maybe I'm overthinking it with the grammar, but this mode really seems to me like a playable fantasy hockey league. Like, think you and 10 friends start a league. You then have a draft to pick your teams. After that, of course, you can make trades with people, sign free agents, which of course would be like waiver claims, and then, you see how your real guys do in real life. That's how you get points. But a connected franchise, rather than, seeing how your team does in real life, you actually play with the team. I think, this really just feels like a playable fantasy hockey mode, which I don't think is terrible, but I think the best of both worlds would be like a super in-depth keeper league where, you have your players year over year, your older players retire, your younger players get better, you have drafts, you have more in-depth free agent signings where it's not just winning a bid, it's actually, signing guy to multi-year deals. So in conclusion, guys, I think EA purposely called this mode Connected Franchise and not GM Connected. It's clearly trying to be its own thing, something different, and like I said, I think it actually could be a great mode, maybe one of the best modes in the game, if it's more like a keeper league where, you basically have the best kind of aspects of franchise mode with an entry draft, multi-year contracts, as well as the best parts of playing fantasy hockey, which of course is, drafting and competing against your friends. That's what we're looking for, which is essentially franchise mode with your friends. Obviously, there's some other cool things they've added in here, but hopefully we can get to that. Obviously, like I said, the mode's currently not where we want it to be, but hopefully with the right feedback and EA seeing how passionate the community is about this mode, they'll update it sooner rather than later, getting it to a spot that we want it to be. But that's gonna be it, guys, for this video. Just giving you my thoughts. I've literally lost my voice. I was talking so much. I had to cut some things out because I just started rambling. I do care quite a bit about franchise. It's my favorite mode in my favorite sports game. I want, Connected Franchise to be in the best spot it possibly can be. So let me know in the comment section, what is most important to you, what your thoughts are, and, where we go from here. But like I said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.